Hello ladies, welcome once again to my channel. So wonderful, and this is wonderful. Today we'll be making this unique jumpsuit. I love it so much. It's called, or I call it, the Shirred Harem jumpsuit, and it's something that you can wear with any kind of footwear, sandals, heels, sneakers, you name it. Okay, and we'll be making the smocked part, and then the bottom part will be a harem pants, and then we'll be joining both of them to get our jumpsuits. So anyway, let's get started. Okay, so now it's time for us to take our measurements for the Shirred harem jumpsuit. First of all, I want you to tie a rope around the narrowest part of your waist, a rope or a belt. You can see mine narrow, and then we'll be taking measurement for the top part and then the bottom part. If you've already gone through my former tutorial, you know how to take measurements for the Shirred top. Okay, so you want to start from your chest area, where the top will be starting from your desired chest area down to where your rope or belt is, and then you want to note down that figure. Then you also want to take measurements for your bust, okay, the fullest part of your bust area. Note down that figure as well, and those are the two measurements we'll be needing for the Shirred top. Okay, now for the harem pants, we don't need to measure the waist. We'll be using our calculations that we use for the Shirred top to get the waist for the harem pants. If we're just making only harem pants and not a jumpsuit, then we would have to measure the waist to use to draft the waist of the harem pants. But in this case, we'll use what we have for the top, for the bottom, so no waist measurement. So what you want to do now is to measure your length, okay, the desired length of your harem pants. I like mine to end at my ankle area. Please do not bend when measuring. You alter the tape, so have someone take this measurement for you, okay, to your ankle area or above it as you desire. So that's the first one. The second one is from this same line you have here, or belt or rope, whatever. You want to take your knee measurement where the crotch would be. Okay, remember the harem is baggy, so whether you want it above or below, I want mine above my knee, slightly above, so my measurement will be stopping about 2 inches from my knee bone. Okay, so take your knee measurement above or slightly below, anyone is fine. And then the next thing is to take your hips measurement, fullest part of your hips. Okay, take that measurement, make sure that you have it done right, and then you have that. Then your ankle width, that's round your ankle. So when you're taking your measuring tape, just make sure that the tape can still pass through your feet, okay, when you're taking it out. So it shouldn't be too tight. I'm going to be using about 14 inches for mine, okay, because we'll be adding elastic to that part. So we have all of our measurements: the length for the top, the bust, okay, the length for the harem pants, your knee length, your hips, and then your ankle width. So let's get started. Okay, so the next part is for us to draft our harem pants pattern. That's the bottom part of the jumpsuit, and I just want you to take a screenshot of this pattern illustration and use it to draft your own pattern. I'll be showing you my own pattern and just briefly explaining how I got it using this pattern illustration. Okay, so here's my pattern, and what I did, like as shown in the illustration, from the top part of my paper, I measured 1.5 inches. Okay, from the top part of the paper, just kept measuring and then ruled across. Now this 1.5 is ½ inch for seam allowance, okay, then 1 inch as an addition because it's a jumpsuit, so we want to add a bit to our trouser length so that when it gets joined to the top, it's not too tight at the crotch area. Okay, it fits well. Anytime you're making a jumpsuit, you should add something to the waist, but because this is harem, we're using only 1 inch as our addition. A normal jumpsuit should definitely be more than 1 inch. Okay, so 1.5 inches, half plus 1 from the top like this. I ruled across before I started drafting anything, and then from the side I measured 1 inch, as you can see, and then ruled all the way down. Okay, this 1 inch is the sewing allowance for the side where we'll be adding our pockets and all of that. So 1 inch here, and our ½ inch allowance is already added there. You can label that later. And then after doing that, next thing I did was to measure my length. Okay, from this is my waistline, so you can label this waistline so you don't get confused. From here I measured the harem length that you got when you measured yourself on your body, okay, all the way down to here, and then I kept measuring across, as you can see, and ruled across. Okay, and then from this waistline I came here and measured my knee length, the desired knee length that I want, and then I kept measuring that, okay, and ruled across all the way. All right, and then on this top part now, Okay, we want to measure our waist, or rather the figure we'll be using as our harem waist. And from the pattern you can see that it's 1/4 of your bust, okay, times 1.5. so whatever that figure is, that's what you'll be using here. So assuming your figure is say 15, after doing your calculation, you want to remember that you have 1 inch added here as seam allowance. Okay, so that's 15 plus 1 inch here, 16. Okay, so that you start from the side to measure. So you start from here and you measure all the way across, okay, on this top line, not on your waistline now because we are using this part here. Okay, on the top line, measure that here, mark it, okay, this way. Allowances will come later for that side. Then you come to your knee length and the calculation for your hip. This is where we'll be measuring our hip. So it's like our crotch depth because it's harem pant, it's dropped lower. Okay, so this part is 1/4 of your hips. Okay, divide your hips by 4 and whatever you get, add 8 inches, 8 to 10 inches. So anyone you prefer, add 8 inches. And in the future you can even reduce the 8 inches if you don't want it to be too baggy. Okay, but 8 inches is usually okay. So 1/4 of your hips plus 8 to 10 inches, that figure is what you measure from here, your line here, all the way down. Okay, and you have that mark there. So you use your long ruler from your mark and rule all the way upwards to your top line above your waistline. Okay, and then on your ankle line here or cuff line here that you ruled, this is your harem length that you ruled across. You want to measure half of your ankle width. Now when I measured mine, I got 14, but I decided to use 16 as my ankle width to make it really big because we're going to be using elastic at that point. Okay, so you don't want to have this too tight. If not, it won't come out looking well, except you don't want to use elastic for yours. So half of that figure for me is 8. So from this line here, okay, I measured 8 inches here, and then I came from here and just drew a subtle curve. You don't want it to be too deep so that it doesn't eat into your leg and all. Okay, a subtle curve all the way till you get here. All right, once you're done with that, your pattern is good to go. What you want to now do is add 1/2 inch seam allowance for the crotch area, 1/2 inch seam allowance following your curved line for your inseam. This is now your inseam, and then 1.5 inches here, okay, for the width because it's elastic. Elastic is 1 inch, or if you're using less, then yours should be less than 1.5, and then 1/2 inch to cover the raw edge. So this will be folded inwards in our fabric, okay, later on like this, and then we insert our elastic. So that's how it is. So I hope you understand this. You can rewind and watch it again. So once you're done with this, cut it out and you have your pattern. And then what we're going to do is to be cutting 4 pieces. So just write that, cut 4 pieces of fabric, okay, for the harem, 4 pieces of our harem pants like this. That's 2 pieces for the front and 2 pieces for the back. So I'm going to fold my fabric. So you want to fold your fabric in a way that you don't waste the fabric. Okay, fold my fabric and I'll cut out 4 pieces. And then I'll be cutting out the pockets also. If you don't want to use pockets, that's fine, but I'll be cutting out pockets. So let me quickly cut this out. I'll show you my pockets as well once I'm done cutting it out, and then we'll move to the next step. This is my cutout pieces. I have 4 pieces here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so the next step now is for us to, and then I have my pocket pieces here, 4 of them as well. If you want me to do a quick tutorial on this, let me know in the comments below. Okay, and then I'll upload a quick tutorial on how to make side pockets, okay, the pattern, so that you can always use it again and again. So I'm just going to quickly come to the side of my pants and do a quick clip, just a little one, just about 1 inch below the waistline. Okay, so just come somewhere here and then just clip that just a bit. Okay, just a bit, so that when I'm adding the pockets to them, you also want to mark your fabric so that you know the wrong side from the right side. So that's my other wrong side, and the wrong side. So if you already know how to insert your pockets. You just pin it from where you clipped, and then you sew. After sewing, you take it out this way and iron. So that's what I'm going to do first of all. We're almost done with the pants part before we go to the top part. So I'll quickly pin this, iron them, sew them, and then iron out, and I'll come back to the next step. We are done attaching our pockets each to each piece and iron, as you can see. So this is the wrong side of fabric. So you want to get your 2 front pieces, all of them are the same size and all, but 2 pieces for the front, 2 pieces for the back. And then the next step we'll be joining the crotch line, okay, not the curved inseam, okay. That will come soon, but first we'll join the crotch together using 1/2 inch seam allowance, because that's what we added to our pattern. So you sew from bottom to top, that's to the waist, okay, using your 1/2 inch seam allowance. Once you're done with that, separate them and iron, okay. And then of course you want to repeat the same for the other 2 pieces, ensuring that it's the wrong sides that are facing each other, okay. So that's the right side, and then okay, so these are the wrong sides. Same thing, crotch, okay. So that's right side facing right side, okay, and then wrong side facing you this way. You can see my chalk mark. And so you join once again from bottom all the way to top. After joining, separate them and iron, and we'll come back for the next step. So we are done joining the crotch of each pair. So that's it, from the top joined till the bottom. All right, so the next thing is for us to join our inseam together. That's the front to the back, and then the side. So this is my second pair, and I'm just going to open it here with the right sides facing each other inside, and place it same way, okay, the seam matching the seam there, and then pin it, and we sew. So you're going to come from the bottom part here. Remember, you may have a bit of this, because this is your sewing allowance, but by the time we fold it in later, each to each side, it would get in properly. So you're going to pin this and sew using 1/2 inch after pinning it, okay, all the way. And then when you get to this seam, you turn around, and then you continue sewing, okay, till you get to this end here. And then our inseams are joined, okay. So when you're done with that, you come to the side, making sure your pockets are placed outwards. You must have ironed them this way. And then from the top, okay, you sew using 1 inch. All right, sew all the way here, turn it around, sew in using 1/2 inch for the pocket pieces, come back outwards 1 inch, and sew all the way down. Repeat the same thing for the other side, and then our harem pant is 90% ready. The rest will be added to the jumpsuit so that it would, you know, come back to how our waist should be. So let's go ahead and sew the inseam, okay, and then the sides. Once we're done with that, the next step will be for us to fold the ankle area, fold, sew, iron, and insert our elastic. So let's quickly have our inseam sewn and the side seams. Okay, so we're done sewing the sides. I've turned it inside out, ironed it, and you can see our pocket inside looking really good. And then this is our inseam as well, okay. So you also want to have this part ironed. I forgot to iron it, I'll do that now. All right, so the next step now is you can even take this on your waist and just hold it here like this and put it on top of you to just see how it looks. Already looking good. Okay, so the next step now is for us to finish the leg width area, that's the ankle area. So I have my 1.5 inches mark inside, okay, from the bottom upwards, 1.5. So I'm going to use that mark as a guide, fold it in and then iron it so that we have 1.5 inches inside. Okay, after you're done ironing in your 1.5 inch, you want to fold it inwards again by 1/2 inch, or you can get your elastic just to see the width, okay, and know how much you'll be folding in, either 1/2 inch or 3/8 of an inch. So you don't want to fold in too much and the elastic will not be able to enter. Okay, so I'll be folding in about 3/8 of an inch, and then fold this in all around, iron it, and then when you're done ironing, you want to go around and sew all around, just leaving a bit of space, okay, for the elastic to show. The elastic will be putting inwards. So after folding in, iron and then sew around and just leave that little bit of space, about 1 inch or 1.5 inches, okay, and then we'll be inserting our elastic inwards. Okay, now for the elastic, you'll be measuring around your ankle. Okay, it should not be too tight and not too loose. You can see how mine is. Just make sure that when you try removing the elastic from through your feet, it can go through. Okay, so whatever that is, cut 2 pieces of that, okay, and then return back to your pants that you just finished sewing, and through that hole there you insert one of the elastic in one leg and the other elastic in the other leg. Insert it round, and then when you get to the end, you tack it together and then insert it backwards inside, and then finish up that hole that you left open. Sew it up, seal it up. Okay, once you do that, your pants is pretty much ready. Okay, the only thing that is left is for us to attach the waist to our shirred top. Okay, so once you do that, next step is for us to get out our fabric so we can cut out our shirred top. Okay, so now it's time for us to make our top, and this is a pattern illustration. So for the width of the top, that's how wide it will be. The calculation here is half of your bust figure multiplied by 1.5. In this case, why it is half is because we're only cutting 2 pieces, the front and the back, unlike the harem pants that we had to cut out 4 pieces. So that's why it's half of bust. The harem pants, with the calculation for the waist, was half of quarter of your bust figure multiplied by 1.5. okay, so if you measure your pants that you have now, one part of it, that's the front, that figure should be the same thing as the calculation which I've just given, which is half of bust multiplied by 1.5. okay, so it must tally, it must be the same thing. So you get that whatever your figure is, you add 1 inch to it as sewing allowance. Okay, that's ½ inch on each side of the top. And then for the length, whatever you measured as your desired length for your top, you add 1 inch to that figure. That's ½ inch for the top and ½ inch for the bottom. The top will be folded twice using 1/4 inch. Okay, so once you're done with that, you cut out your fabric pieces, 2 fabric pieces, and you can see mine here. Okay, I've cut mine out. So the next step is to join the sides together, just one side. Now I already have a tutorial on shirred top or smocked top. Okay, so we're going to just breeze through this. If you want a detailed explanation, please go watch that other video. It's just shirred top, well explained and all of that. Okay, so for this we'll be sewing just one side. Okay, right side facing each other. One side of my fabric piece, you can see there are 2. Sew the side there, and then after sewing you want to separate the seams and have them ironed. Okay, and then once you do that, we're going to finish up the top of top, yeah, folding inwards 1/4 inch twice. Okay, and I gave a tip on how to have that done easily in my video tutorial on shirred top. Okay, so we fold in and sew that only the top we're finishing the raw edge, the bottom will be joined to the harem part. Okay, so once you're done with that, you want to iron once again, And then the next step now will be for us to mark out our 1/2 inch all through our fabric, okay, the right side of fabric. This is to serve as a guide when we take it to the sewing machine to begin shearing, so that it's not disorganized and you know, untidy looking and all of that. Okay, so you want to have your lines drawn all out, okay, 1/2 inch using your ruler and your tailor's chalk and all of that. And then of course, once you're done with that, remember to leave your 1/2 inch by the sides, okay, because you're not going to be sharing that part. That is the seam allowance I will be using to join the other side together. And you also want to leave 3/4 of an inch at the bottom part, because we'll be joining 1/2 inch from it to the trouser. If you leave 1/2 inch, you may sew in your smocked thread, and I don't want that. So leave 3/4 of an inch for the bottom, and then 1/2 inch on the sides, okay. And then once you're done with that, next step is to take it to the sewing machine. Remember to wind your bobbin using the elastic thread, okay, and then your stitch length to adjust it. All of that is covered in my other video tutorial. And your tension, adjust it once again, and then switch your bobbin thread from the normal thread to the elastic one, and then begin shearing using the lines that you just drew as a guide, okay. So you keep shearing until you get to the end of your line, tack, and then get it out. Once you're done with that, the next step now is for us to iron this just lightly, okay, on the right side of fabric. That's where, not the part that has the elastic thread, okay, that's the wrong side of fabric. So on the right side of fabric, just lightly press the top all through using your iron, okay, just to give it a smooth feel and all of that. Once you're done with that, the next step is to join the remaining sides together. So you bring them together and then you join them, sew them using your 1/2 inch seam allowance, which you already seen there that there is no elastic thread on that part there, okay. Once you're done with that, we're really pretty much good to go. Just one more step and that's it. You get your harem pants out once again, and then you pin them side seam to side seam, okay. So the side seam of the top, one part, pin it to the side seam of the pants. The same thing for the other side seam, pin them together, and then you now pin round the waist, okay, making sure that no part is folded. You're stretching them out as you're pinning. Once you're done pinning, you take it to the sewing machine, you sew them together using your 1/2 inch seam allowance, okay, 1/2 inch seam allowance. Once you're done with that, you can just press the whole outfit once again just to give it a really tidy look, and voila, you're done, okay. And that's it. That's how you make your smocked jumpsuit. I really love how it looks tucked in, you know, even a tank top. Like, you can just be versatile. You can wear it with your sneakers, your sandals, your heels, you name it, okay, casual, serious events and all of that. I really love it. So once you're done making yours, I'd love to see your picture. Please tag me in your stories on Instagram, in your posts, or send me a DM, or email me if that's what you prefer with your pictures. I really want to see them. And I'd also like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not yet subscribed, because there's so much more coming out there. And of course, please like this video. It helps with the algorithm here. And lastly, share the video to your other fashionista friends. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.